Hey, welcome. This is Tom Bentey Media Podcast, and I am here with the lovely and talented Christina DeRosa, very prominent and exceptional actor. And she's here to talk about her career, how she got into acting, and any tips and tidbits she can offer anyone trying to break into the acting industry. So thank you, Christina, for joining us today, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, let's start from way back. How did you get into acting from the start? Is this something you got into later on, or is it something you started with as a child?
I started as a little girl singing and dancing as a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz alongside Natalie Portman back in Long Island, New York. So yeah, that's when her dog was Toto. And that's before her name was Natalie Portman. It was Natalie Hirschlag. And I have very, very happy memories of singing and dancing. And that's how it all began. This little girl just wanted to keep on singing and dancing in front of anything I could find. I would literally be singing and dancing in front of like my refrigerator or my stove because there was a reflection or anything that was possible. Anybody who would watch me perform, I would just perform in front of.
Very cool. Now, did you go to school for acting? Like, did you go to college for acting?
I did. That's a funny story too, actually. So I got accepted into the Boston Conservatory, which is a 4-year BFA program for singing, dancing, and acting. And I got accepted there and was so excited and thought that would be the trajectory of my life. I would finish the 4 years at the Boston Conservatory and then be in New York City and just be on Broadway. And that was my plan. And then, of course, God had another plan. So after my first year at the Boston Conservatory, I was doing summer stock in upstate New York. I was trying out new things with my body and I was moving around and I was rehearsing on a cement floor, a cement stage. And I took some risks physically and I literally fell on my left kneecap. And I was told, I took the expression break a leg literally, and I fell and I broke my leg. And then I was told by a big doctor that I would never be able to dance again or do lunges or do all these things that I do all the time. So that incident got me to reevaluate. Like, it basically told me I could not go back to that Boston Conservatory BFA program. So I had to go, okay, had to spend some time back home with mom and dad, actually in a community college, which was very humbling, taking some GE credits and in a wheelchair for a little bit in physical therapy until I was able to recover, and then had to go, okay, well, I'm told I can't dance for a significant amount of time. What do I do? So I said, okay, I'll focus on acting, not singing, dancing, acting, or not singing and dancing. I'll focus on acting and I'll move to California. So I applied to a bunch of schools in Los Angeles, got accepted into UCLA, and I've been in California ever since.
Wow. That's a pretty amazing story. I just love US doctors. I mean, I heard around the world, like, doctors are much more kind of politically correct, or they kind of tell you things in a much more subdued fashion. In the US, they're just so blunt. Like, they're like, you'll never walk again. That's it. And they don't give you any sort of hope. But look at you, you proved them wrong. You proved them wrong.
I mean, it's funny. I remember when you're in such pain, I didn't know this until it happened, but when you're in such pain, your body actually goes into shock. So the minute that I fell on the knee, my body like went into shock, and people were like, Christina DeRosa, Christina, and like nothing. It was like, I was just like out, as if I like passed out, but I was awake and my eyes were alert, but I was like, my mind was elsewhere. And it's like your mind basically recovering and going, okay, I don't want you to feel the amount of pain you're going to be feeling right now. So I'm going to put you in this state of shock. So during that time, I was out of it. And supposedly it took like 45 minutes to drive to the hospital. And I don't remember any of this. Like, I don't remember being in an ambulance. I don't remember any of it. I only remember the funny part. I only remember waking up in this hospital and seeing this woman, this nurse, right there in front of me going, girl, this doesn't look good. It was like, what? I mean, it was like, who are you? Where am I? How did I get, like, all these questions are just like, what the Yeah. So that's definitely not considered great bedside manner. But it wasn't actually a huge New York City hospital. It was upstate New York in a tiny little town. And anyway, I'm very grateful and lucky and blessed to be alive and thriving and to be able to do lunges and to be able to dance and to be able to not have the pain in my knee that they told me I would have.
You proved them wrong. That's what counts.
That's what counts.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the transition from theater acting to legit acting, I mean, film and TV. Did you find it difficult to transfer your theater skills to film? Because it is a very different art form, correct?
It is a very different art form. Do you act yourself?
Yes, I'm an actor. I have a little bit of theater experience, mostly film and TV.
Okay, so then you know, absolutely. Yeah, I was just having this discussion actually not too long ago. It's funny because, you know, you go to college and I have an amazing degree on my wall from the University of California, Los Angeles that I'm extremely proud of. But it's funny because after you graduate with that degree, even though it's a degree in film and television, they are teaching you Shakespeare and they're teaching you Tennessee Williams and they're teaching you all the greats. But does that translate into film and television? Is that going to fuel you and give you enough education and resources to be able to get into a LA theatrical, and when I say theatrical, I mean film and television audition in Los Angeles and nail it? No, because it's not teaching you how to work with your camera. It's not teaching you camera angles. It's not teaching you the difference between a close-up and an extreme close-up. It's not teaching you any tools that you really need actually on set. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking university education. I'm not knocking a college degree, but I will say that after I graduated with that degree from University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, I went on to take classes at Leslie Kahn in Los Angeles and Ivana Chubbuck and Larry Moss and improv classes at the Groundlings and all those classes that actually teach you more how to work with current scripts that are actually on TV right now or current pilot scripts that are actually casting right now. And the classes that I take even now, I don't like to go to an acting class unless there's a camera because it's all about the camera. The camera is like the god on the set, and the camera is capturing your thoughts. It's capturing everything. So you can't lie to that camera. You can't be thinking that you're on stage. You have to know your medium. You have to know what you are working with. So if you're working on a film, it's even going to be different than if you're working on a TV show versus you're working on a commercial. So I've taken classes that are specific for commercials. I've taken classes that are more specific for just film and television, but I don't think I would take a class that would be specific for theater because that's not what I'm focusing on now.
Gotcha. Now, would you say that film and TV is, I guess, film would be even more subtle style of acting than television?
It depends. It depends if you're talking about a multi-camera show or you're talking about a single camera show. So it depends even what type of television show. Like not all television shows are on the same page or created equal. They're all different genres. There's single cam, there's multicam. You know, like if you're watching something like Modern Family or Big Bang Theory, that's going to be more of like a multi-cam situation where the comedy is going to be broader than something like a single cam, like a Devious Maids or a show that is more of like a dramedy. So there's different levels of even within the comedy, and there's different levels of television. I mean, of course, working on a drama is going to be very different than working on a comedy, but then even within comedy, there's differences. And then there's shows, I mean, of course, a show as beautiful and as bold as The Office gave you the option to break the fourth wall. And before that, shows weren't doing that as much. So you have to really know what the genre is. I think a really important note to all actors is, let's say you get an audition, and let's say it's for a show that is not on TV, so you can't actually watch it. What you can do is focus on who is the writer, who are the writers, who are the executive producers, who are the people attached and working on that show, and what have they worked on before. If they've worked on a bunch of multicam type of shows, That's going to be very different than if they worked on a bunch of dramas. And that's going to give you some idea of perhaps the tone, because it is important to know what the tone of the show is if you have an audition and you're not familiar with the tone and you can't watch the material beforehand. Does that make sense?
Totally get it. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your career. So, you've had some really great roles throughout the years, and you were on Blackish. And how I know you is through Gravesend. I saw that, I think last year on Amazon Prime. It was really a cool show. So let's talk about some of your memorable roles and kind of what you brought to each role and what you learned from each character that you've played.
I love that question. Thank you. It's amazing because you do really learn something from every character. It's like you take away something, whether it's a nuance, whether it's a personality trait, whether it's a way of thinking or behaving. I mean, something small is you saw Gravesend, or at the time it was called The Neighborhood on Amazon. What I've taken away from that, one of the many things I've taken away from that, as far as performance and character-wise, Virginia, the character I played on that, she always had wonderful nails and really long nails. And since that day, I have not had like a bad nail day. Like my nails are always like done, even if it's a mini manicure, even if it's just a shorter, but still like I will never have gross looking nails. Like I will never have stumpy, chewy. No, like they have to be amazing nails because it's like an honor of her. It gives honor to her. But every role definitely leaves you with something special, and that's a beautiful thing. And I think I'm drawn to certain roles because of the story, because of the character, because of the journey that they go on. One of my most memorable roles, I would say, would be playing Sophia Fiore in the female thriller called Inheritance. It starred Lily Collins and Simon Pegg, and it was just an honor working with Lily Collins. Lily Collins is like the definition of grace. People probably know her now from Emily in Paris. They wrapped up season 2. They're already working on season 3. And she is just a gem to work with. She is just the definition of grace. She was humble. She was grateful. And working with that specific director, his name is Von Stein, working with him was amazing too, because he gave such reverence and respect to the craft. You know, I had an emotional scene with Lily in that movie, and he asked for a closed set, which means that when we're rehearsing. So that means that when we were rehearsing, anyone who did not need to be present was not present. So if there was an extra gaffer or someone who was doing something that didn't need to really watch that scene rehearse, obviously the director was there, the DP was there, maybe a key producer was there, but there wasn't a lot of extra people just watching us rehearse. So we can really focus and we can really have quiet and silence and complete concentration, even in the rehearsal process. And I just thought that was so memorable to me, because many times you don't have the time and the flexibility, or just the passion from the director and the insight and the intuition to know enough that, wow, this is a scene where we're going to have to go certain places, and give the actors that respect, and then that craft will feel that respect, and the scene will be that much better because of it. So that was just something that I will always remember. It was a wonderful experience working on that movie.
That's cool. I've been following you on social media. You put out a lot of great content, very inspirational, very motivational, and very spiritual as well. I've noticed that you have a spiritual side to you. Can you talk about how that impacts your acting and your creativity?
Oh, absolutely. I don't touch my phone in the morning. I don't check my email. I don't go and see if I have an audition for the day unless I first get on my knees and pray, until I first open up the Holy Bible, until I first do something that feels me, until I first say, "Good morning, Holy Spirit," until I first thank God for the fact that I'm alive and that I'm breathing and that I'm healthy and that I don't have COVID and everything else that I'm so grateful for. So yes, it is so important to me. I talk about morning routines a lot. I probably shared this on social media a lot too. I talk about the importance of everybody having some type of morning routine, and it can look different. maybe someone out there is not someone who wants to pray and someone who doesn't want to read. That's okay. I mean, you could literally take 5 minutes, close your eyes, give thanks to whatever you believe in. Um, Take 5 minutes and read something motivational, read a quote, give yourself a facial massage, give yourself something that feels like it's taking time for you, for your physical body, for your mental body, for your emotional body. Exercise. Some people exercise first thing in the morning, move their body, go on a walk. It could be something, but I'm just saying not to go and immediately check that phone and immediately answer an email, because then you're into like replying mode and you're not first taking care of yourself.
Is this something that you've had like throughout your whole life, or is it something you got into recently?
I've always been someone that has been very called to spirituality. It's looked very different at different times in my life. I am born and raised Roman Catholic, Italian. I was baptized as a little baby in church, and I grew up going to a Roman Catholic church, but I didn't have the relationship that I now have with God. I didn't have the relationship that I now feel that I now have, that I've now worked on to have, that I've now prayed to have. There was a time in my life where I was practicing Buddhism. There was a time in my life where I was going to a spiritual center. So I've navigated in this world many different ways, always seeking, always craving, always seeking. I've always been like a student of life, I call it. And I've always wanted to just go deeper into who I am, why I'm here, my mission, my purpose. All of that was always something that was a calling to me. Even as a little girl, I was told I was like an old soul. And I've always been tiny, like petite and like not too tall. We call myself piccolina in Italiana, which means cute little one. So I've always been the little one, but I've always had like an older spirit. So I've always been seeking.
That's great. Now I'm Italian too. I'm Roman Catholic, and I definitely see you have a lot of Italian mannerisms. Is Italian culture important to you? Like, are you proud to be an Italian, and has that influenced a lot of your creativity and acting?
Oh, absolutely. I've been all over Italy. I've probably been to about 25 cities in Italy. I love the Italian people, the Italian culture. I love my Italian family. It was challenging at a certain time in my life, especially in my high school years, trying to understand why my parents are a certain way, why they behave a certain way. And I really, in time, had to grow deeper into understanding their upbringing and how they were raised and why they were raised that way and how it's impacted me. So the more, there's a beautiful saying. It's basically like, if you want to check in and see how you're doing spiritually, see how you react to your family. Like, I think family is something that really can be a trigger for many people. So, some people maybe see their family every day if they're lucky. Some people only see their family maybe once a month or maybe once a year, depending where you live and everything else. But it's interesting to really check in and go, okay, how am I behaving towards my family? Because if I'm behaving with love and compassion, well, then, wow, thank you, God, I've really worked on myself. And it's interesting, if you're not behaving that way, and if you're behaving, snapping and getting irritated and getting really frustrated really quickly when you talk to your family, then maybe that's an indicator that, okay, what do I need to work on? Where do I need to grow in my compassion? Where do I need to grow in my love? Where do I need to grow in my heart? What do I need to work on? So family is very important. And I'm very proud, of course, to be Italiana, and I'm in love with Italy and very proud of the Italian culture and what it means and what it looks like. And I love going back to Italy, and I love going back to New York and seeing a lot of my Italian family. I lost my New York accent when I was living in New York, actually, because I was working as an actress and I needed to. But I can easily snap back into a New York accent, and I can easily snap back into an Italian accent.
Well, do you think you might return, or is LA your forever home?
Nothing is forever. I think I'm eternal, but where I live is not forever. I don't know exactly what the next path in terms of where I'll live will be. I know that I'm extremely comfortable with the Los Angeles weather, and I don't miss the cold snow. I mean, I have very many memories as a child growing up, playing in the snow, making snow angels, eating the snow, having snowball fights, making snowmen, like all of that. Like I got that out of my system. So in a way, I'm kind of like, I don't need the snow. Like I'm good. I don't need the cold. I love this California Technicolor light. I love the sunshine. I mean, right now it's probably 70 degrees outside and we're in January.
Yeah, it's like 20 degrees in New York.
Yeah, I mean it's a very different thing. Like, I mean, I literally can go for a walk right now and just put on like a light little sweater and like I'll be okay. I mean, a couple hours it'll be a little colder. I'll put on a heavier jacket to go out, but like it's the weather really, it's funny. I promised my mom when I moved to California that from New York, when I moved to California, that I would never dye my hair blonde and I would never get fake boobs. So far, so good. I'm good on both. However, I didn't promise that I wouldn't become like a weather snob. And I didn't even know what that meant. And no one even warned me about that. But definitely my sister who lives in Pennsylvania, she's always saying, my gosh, like you people in California, she's like, you could literally tell the difference between like 72 degrees versus 75, like because you're so like in that 70 zone. Like it's all about like the 70s. Is it 71 or is it 72? Like, because that will determine what I wear.
Did you ever see that movie LA Story by Steve Martin?
Oh my goodness, I don't think I have. I
It's
should
a
see
great
it.
film. Yeah, it came out in like 91. It talks all about LA and the weather and the culture. And it also has a spiritual element that we're talking about spirituality as well. It's really a very interesting film.
Oh, that's
But
great. I should watch it.
it seems like, you're connected with your culture, you're connected with your family, you're connected with spirituality. And I think a lot of people getting into acting or in the arts, they don't realize like how kind of up in the air it can be and how difficult it can be at times. Has that all just kept you grounded during the difficult times when maybe auditions aren't coming in, or you're not booking when you think you should? And how do you get, how do you, even though you have spirituality, you have your family, how do you have a positive mindset during that? Because it can get, I know firsthand, it can get really tough, and it's hard to believe in yourself when you're getting rejected, especially when you're starting out, and when there's a lot of crazy characters in this industry, as you know, and it's hard to get your own projects off the ground, and it's hard to book roles. There's so many people. So can you talk a little bit about like the hardships that you had to endure to get to the place that you are right now?
Absolutely. And I'll also just share with yourself and whoever's watching and listening. I keep something, actually, I'm looking at it like as I'm talking to you. I keep something by my desk every day and it says, I am not my career. I am not my resume. I am not my headshot. I am not my income. So if you're just thinking, oh my gosh, I am this actor and that's all I am, well, then that's how you're going to feel. And that's going to feel probably awful because, yeah, it is constant rejection. And it's funny, I was listening very carefully to what you were just saying. And you were saying, that you think it's probably very hard, especially for somebody starting out. Well, I will piggyback on that and add to that it's not just hard when you're starting out. It's hard no matter what stage you're at. I mean, don't think that someone like a Tom Hanks or a Tom Cruise or a Meryl Streep doesn't still have highs and lows and doesn't still question themselves. I mean, Denzel Washington is a great example of someone who really, Will Smith, Denzel Washington, they really open up, even on social media, about the ups and the downs. Viola Davis talks a lot about this too. Viola Davis, a great example of someone who really, I can't remember the exact age, but I actually made a Instagram video about Viola Davis saying that it's never too late. Like Viola Davis got her start at a much later age than most people. Jane Lynch, another example of an actress who got her start, I believe, at like 40 or something like that. So, and when I say start, I don't mean like, oh my gosh, she just started acting. No, like really got to be more well known. But my point is that it's never too late, and you can't possibly believe that you're just your acting career. I actually have a social media post that I'm planning on sharing that I haven't posted yet. It's coming out soon. And it's all about like 3 things I wish I knew when I first started acting. And one of them is be more than just an actor. So be more than just that actor that's constantly auditioning. Like when I first started acting, actually, I was just an actress and I wasn't producing, and I wasn't the chairwoman of a charity, and I wasn't posting on social media and becoming a social media influencer, and I wasn't doing all these things that I now do. Because now I actually feel that the more you do other things in your life, the more it's going to fuel your acting. I'm absolutely a better actress today, obviously, than I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or, 4 years ago. But I'm a better actress today because I am the chairwoman of a charity, because I produce, because I work with writers constantly and read their scripts, not because I want to be in those scripts, but because I want to produce those scripts and I want to see it from a different side, because I've been on the other side of the camera. So my point to all actors is be more than just an actor, be a storyteller, be a filmmaker. So what does that mean? You have a lull, you have time where you're not auditioning, find a set that you can actually work on. Maybe you can be an assistant costume designer if you like clothing. Maybe you could be an assistant makeup artist if you like makeup. Maybe you can be a second PA or something. There's always there's always people that need hands on set. Even if you intern, even if you're not getting paid, find a way to help out so you see it from another perspective. Because I always feel like being on set is like, take me out to the ball game. When you go to a Dodger game in LA, or you go to a Mets game or a Yankee game, or you go to a Giants game, or you go to any kind of game, baseball, basketball, football, whatever sport it is, you're all like rooting for that same baby. Like you're all like, go blue, go Dodgers, or go Giants, or whatever it may be. You're all rooting for the same team. That's what it is on set. And when you understand as an actor that you're just like one little tiny particle of this entire huge baseball game, like you're not even a player, like you're okay, you're maybe one of the players, but there's so many other players, and then there's so many elements that make up that game. It's not just one player or one ball, like you need it all. And it's so important as an actor to see that it's not just about you in your trailer alone waiting for your cue to go on set, and like there's all these other things happening, and you need to be aware of them constantly.
It's so true. It's such a collaborative effort film, and actors are just one part. I mean, most of the public doesn't understand that because they're not involved in filmmaking. They're not on sets. They don't see how many people come together to bring this vision to life. But it is such a collaborative process, and the actors, like you said, they're just one aspect of it. So to understand that can just help you as a storyteller, and can help you as an actor.
Absolutely. I recently played a starring role, like number one on the call sheet, and I did not take it lightly. I mean, of course, the amount of work that it went into preparing for the role was something I worked very hard on. But what I was really taught by my acting teacher was, Christina, if you're going to be number one on the call sheet, if you're going to be the starring role in this movie, you need to constantly be thinking about situational awareness, which is a term that actually is not frequently used in the entertainment industry the way it's used actually in other industries. And it's a great term, situational awareness. So like, what does that mean? Okay, well, it means that you're number one on the call sheet. You're the star of that movie or that TV show. So your temperature, what you bring on set, is going to affect everybody. And if you see that maybe people are a little uptight over there, or maybe he's a little sad over here, or maybe she needs a laugh, then you're going to make a joke at that moment. You're going to be like taking care of the entire situation because you are aware of the entire situation. And that means like you're not just hanging out in your dressing room or in your trailer waiting for your next scene to take place. No, you're literally watching, like absorbing like a sponge, everything going on around you, so you can help, so you can be of service, so you can see, oh, maybe that person needs a hand over there. Now they're probably going to say no and say, oh no, we don't need a hand, like that's not your department, don't worry. But you want to be aware, like how could I make this energy even better all around me? Because it's for the team, it's for the project, it's for the baseball game, or that's the project.
And when you're the star, you really have a big hand in that. And you're controlling a lot of that energy on set and how other people are responding. So to understand like who's not fitting in, or who's not feeling well, or who's being sad, is going to just help the whole team get to the place where they need to be. So it's an extra responsibility, but at the same time, you're offering empathy, you're offering comfort, you're offering support.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember one sweet example when I was just on this movie in Connecticut last year, 2021. There was a few extras that came to set, and I thought it was always so important to just say hello to them, shake their hands if appropriate, thank them for being there. And that has gone so far. I mean, we had extras on that set that were doing things that were just incredible, staying way past overtime, just really working in maybe hot, sticky situations where, you know, it's hot, there's no air condition, or situations where normally people would be complaining, but because myself and a lot of the other actors were going out of their way to thank them for being there, it really helped. It really, really helped. And I personally remember when I worked on Devious Maids with Susan Lucci, she went out of her way. And talk about another example of like grace. If I had to give examples of like two examples of grace, I'd say it's Susan Lucci and Lily Collins, like the two women that just went out of their way. Susan Lucci was just thanking me like, oh, thank you so much, Christina, for being here. Thank you for playing this part. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like Susan Lucci is thanking me, like she's Susan Lucci. And she just came with such gratitude that touched me and that affected me. And that made me go, wow, when I'm a role as big as Susan Lucci, when I'm on a set and I have a role as powerful as Susan Lucci, I want to be that to the other people who come and are guests on my set. Like, wow, making them feel so welcomed. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that attitude is so important, and it helps you sustain creativity. It helps you sustain a career, and it just makes you a better person. And like we talked about before, being a better person will make you a better actor, and it will help you keep grounded during these crazy times, both in the industry and outside of the industry.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting how a lot of actors think that like we should react differently to a casting director or a producer or a director or whoever can possibly hire us. But it's so different. It's like, wow, would you do that in real life? Like, would you actually go onto somebody's social media page that you don't know and write a comment on their post that has nothing to do with acting? Would you write a post and say, oh, hire me? Like, I have a headshot and a resume I'd like to send you. Like, would you send something like that to a guy that you're interested in dating or a girl that you're interested in dating? Hey, you know, I think you're really pretty. I'd love to date you. Like, would you just randomly do that, like on their feed post on an Instagram or a Facebook or a Twitter post? Like, you know, a lot of it is just using common sense. Like, what would you do? How would you want someone to treat you? Would you want someone to go to your Facebook page and just write all over your wall, cast me, cast me? Like, it's got nothing to do with what they were just talking about, right? So I think it's important to be genuine and to try to find ways to be of service to people as opposed to always trying to get something from somebody. Because I think that casting directors, producers, people in a place of hiring, and I've now been in a place of hiring as a producer on a movie that was just made. I had many actors say, hey, I would love to be in this movie. I'd love to be in this movie. And it's interesting to feel the energy of begging versus the energy of, you know what, I see you're making this movie. If there's a role I'm right for, I'd love to be considered. If not, best of luck. Love to work with you in the future. Like, it's very interesting how you write an email, how you craft an email, and the heart and the intention behind it. And people feel that. It's not, you don't need a special gift to feel that. It's just common sense, right? So I think it's important for actors to always remember, treat people how you want to be treated.
Definitely, 100%. Well, talk a little bit about these upcoming projects, the starring one and the films that you've made. What do we have to look forward to?
Yeah, well, this year, 2022, I will be playing the starring role in the movie Secrets by the Shore. It's a female thriller, and we shot it in Connecticut. I played the role of Misha Codwell. It was a wonderful experience. I worked with a wonderful director. I worked with DC Douglas and David Chokachi and Jason London and Chelsea Vale, and I had a wonderful, wonderful experience on set. It'll be on Lifetime this spring. I do not have the exact date yet, but it should be about March or April that it airs. But of course, you can follow along on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or any of my social media channels, and I'll be posting a lot about it, letting everyone know when it's going to be airing. So that's exciting. And during the pandemic, actually, in 2020, believe it or not, was it 2000? Wow, time flies. Like, wow. Yeah, 2020. At the end of 2020, my production company, Dig Entertainment and Fort Argyle Films, made a movie that we produced. And we actually were able to shoot it at the end, about August, September of 2020. We shot it, finished production, and it's now winning a ton of awards. It's called A Savannah Haunting. So that's exciting. And yeah, it's in all kinds of film festivals right now. It's winning tons of awards, and pretty soon you'll be able to see it outside of the film festivals, and that's exciting. And then my production company.
That's a horror film?
Yes, it's a horror film called A Savannah Haunting. And that's exciting. And then my production company, Dig Entertainment, and I are working on various other films in various stages of production. Some are in pre-production, some are in post-production. And we're very excited about one that's based on a book that one of my partners wrote. So it's being shopped around, it's being packaged around, and praying and hoping for the right attachments. I think it's really important, and I'll stress again that I'm not a producer who has to be in every project I'm acting in. So for example, the horror film, I'm not in it. I was a producer on it, but I'm not in that movie. There was not a role that I felt like I was really so right for. And I really felt like there were other actors who could do that movie even more justice. So I'm a storyteller first and foremost. So it has to be right for what's the best character, what's the best actress or actor for that movie. This movie that we're working on, JJE, is based on a book that my partner wrote, and that book is actually available on Amazon right now, which is exciting. And that film is predominantly African American. So probably not a role in there really for me either. And I'm okay with that. I just want that story to get made. So again, first and foremost, be an actor, but be an actor who's also a storyteller who can do other things that it's not just about you being in it. That being said, I'm very excited about a movie that I'm also producing that I plan on starring in, and that's a faith-based movie. And we're in the very beginning stages of that. The script is done and it's brilliant, and I got a director attached. So it's a wonderful place to be in. And the plan is to shoot it this year, 2022. So prayers up.
Well, best of luck, and we wish you the best. And we're all looking forward to checking out your upcoming work for sure. And finally, why don't you leave us? I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but you have such great personal motivations, daily inspirations, all that. If you wouldn't mind leaving our audience with just a little motivation here as we wrap up the podcast.
Absolutely. I think it all comes down to love. You know, when I think about everything I've shared a lot of nuggets of advice. Never give up, and it's never too late, and be more than an actor, and all these things I've shared, but I really haven't gotten very vulnerable yet on this show. So I will share from a vulnerable place, and I will say that there was a time where I did not love myself the way I love myself now. There was a time where I suffered from an eating disorder, and I hated myself, and I wanted to kill myself, and I was shaming myself and blaming myself. But how did I get over that? How did I survive that? The power of love. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're feeling sad, you're feeling less than, you're feeling not enough, there are people out there who can help you, whether it be a healer, whether it be a priest, whether it be a bishop, whether it be a pastor, whether it be a friend, whether it be a family member, whether it be yourself. There are tons of self-help books out there. There are tons of ways to find how to truly love yourself. I absolutely right now can say I love myself. I don't like maybe everything I do, and that doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but at the end of the day, I remember I'm a child of God and I love myself, and it all starts with loving yourself. So if you're feeling like you don't love yourself, I encourage you to love yourself. I always say you can't love someone else, and you can't have someone else love you until you love yourself. So I love myself so much, so I can love you so much, so you can love you so much, so you can start loving me or them or he or she. So love, is my last message.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much. You're great, Christina. Really enjoyed this. I feel much more motivated now. And you shared
Do you
some
feel
really,
loved?
I do.
You
I
feel
feel
loved.
loved. I feel motivated. I feel loved. I feel inspired, and really great insight to the audience out there. Can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.